Take 2. Hi, welcome to our channel, Fun and Friends. My name is Evelyn.
I'm Sabrina.
And I'm Jasmine.
And welcome to the channel.
We had some bloopers and some surprise brand new puppy visits,
so we just decided to start over because we hadn't really even started the chapter yet.
yeah. On a positive note, there is now a new puppy in the world of fur friends, so you'll see him on Instagram and stuff.
His name is Kratos. He is absolutely adorable.
Yes.
Yep.
My new puppy.
Her new puppy.
So
new addition to the Griswold household.
So he may be making some appearances on our Instagram,
on our channel,
and in the future on our channel, but probably not for the next couple of episodes.
Yeah, he still needs all his shots and all that good stuff, so we'll keep him separated.
And he needs to go sleep while we record these next several episodes because he's a little baby.
He was falling asleep on our laps and stuff. It was time for bed.
All right, so a recap of last chapter. They were going to try and leave the world, and then they realized they couldn't come up with a good idea on how to do so. So they crashed into the headmaster's room and found a magical pen that was decided to start writing, and it started writing their story, which apparently that doesn't normally happen to first years in the school. So that was interesting. And when they were trying to figure out ways to go home or fix the problem, the headmaster gave them a riddle. And the next thing they knew, they woke up back in their own beds in their own schools.
And once the story starts to be written, it can't be done. It can't be stopped until their story stops.
So I guess we'll see how their story ends.
Please don't mind the yawns. I am very tired.
Yes.
She chose decaffeinated tea.
Decaffeinated, not caffeinated.
You needed the caffeine?
Huh?
For improvement. All right, next
Don't worry, it's
chapter,
only 10 o'clock at
night. Dead Ends, chapter 12. The morning started miserably for both girls. Not only had they gotten zero sleep, like me, but now they were back in their mismatched schools for another day of despicable classes. Even worse, neither of them even knew the answer to the schoolmaster's riddle, nor could they ponder it together until lunch. And if all of this wasn't bad enough, their hobgoblin debacle had become the talk of the schools. In uglification, Sophie tried to ignore all the snickers and focus on Mulaney's lecture about the proper use of capes. No capes!
That's okay.
Capes. No capes.
No chairs.
No chairs.
I know, my butt's starting to hurt.
You could all move up here.
Good.
It won't reach.
That's okay.
Oh, the voicey thingies.
Yeah.
I don't even know if you're getting picked up over there. This took valiant concentration, given Hester's vengeful glares and the fact that capes could be used for protection, invisibility, disguise, or flight, depending on the fabric and the grain. And
that's
each type.
Potter's cape came from.
That's a cloak, not a cape. It's like a robe.
Invisible.
But it's like a robe.
They stole it
from
the School of Good and Evil.
But it has a
hood on it.
It has a hood and armholes. It is not a cape. With each requiring different incantations, mainly binded the students for the class challenge, where the students raced to identify the given cape's fabric and successfully put it to use. I don't know. Magic was so complicated, Hort muttered, massaging the cape to see if it was silk or satin. And this is just capes, Dot said, smelling hers. Wait until we do spells. But if there was one thing Sophie knew, it was closed. She recognized snakeskin under her fingers, mentally said the incantation, and it went invisible under her slinky black cape. The feat earned her another top rank, and a look from Hester so lethal, Sophie thought she might burst into flames. Across the moat, Agatha couldn't turn a corner without seeing Tedros and his mates mimicking hobgoblin lurches, howling gibberish, and beating each other with squashes. Wherever she went, Tedros and company followed, braying and grunting on the top of their lungs until they finally snatched a squash and jabbed Tedros in the chest with it. The only reason this happened is because you chose me. You chose me, you boorish, brainless thug. Tedros gasped dumbly as she stormed off. You chose the witch? Asked Chadwick. Tedros turned to find the boys staring. No, she tricked. I didn't. He pulled his sword. Who wants to fight? With Hansel's Haven still in ruins, classes were moved to the tower common rooms. Agatha followed a herd of Evers through the breezeways, linking all the goods towers in a zigzag of colorful glass passages over the lake. While crossing a purple breezeway to Charity, she tuned out gossiping girls and pondered the schoolmaster's riddle over and over until she looked up and saw she was all alone. After fumbling through the bubble-filled laundry where nymphs scoured dresses, dodging enchanted pots in the supper hall, making lunch, and trapping herself in a faculty toilet, Agatha finally tracked down the Charity Commons. The pink chaise couches were full, and none of the girls made room for her. Just as she sat on the floor. Sit here. Kiko, the sweet, short-haired girl, scooted aside as others tittered. Agatha squeezed in beside her. They all hate you now, she mumbled. I don't know how they can think themselves good and be so rude, Kiko whispered. Maybe because I almost burned down the school. They're just jealous. You can make wishes come true. None of us can do that yet. It was a fluke. If I could make wishes come true, I'd be home with my friend and my cat. The thought of Reaper made Agatha grasp for another subject. How's that boy you wished for? Tristan? Kiko's face fell. He likes Beatrix. Every boy likes Beatrix. But he gave you his rose, Agatha said, remembering her wish at the lake. By accident. I jumped in front of Beatrix to catch it. Kiko gave Beatrix a dirty look. Do you think he'll take me to the ball? Not every boy can take that she-wolf. Agatha smirked, then frowned. What ball? The Ever Snowball. It's right before Christmas, and every one of us has to find a boy to take us, or we're failed.
Like Harry Potter. But they don't get failed, but they need to have a date, yes.
We get ranked as couples based on our presentation, demeanor, and dancing. Why do you think we all wish for different boys at the lake? Girls are practical like that. Boys just want the prettiest one. Kiko grinned. Who do you have your eye on? Before Agatha could vomit, the doors flew open and a busty woman flounced in wearing a bejeweled red turban and a scarf that matched her dress. Caked caramel makeup, swarthy kohl on her eyes, gypsy hooped earrings, and jingling tambourine bracelets. Professor Anemone? Kiko gawked. I am Schwitzalade. Professor Anemone boomed in a ridiculous accent. Queen of Persia, Sultaness of the Seven Seas, behold my dusky desert beauty.
She said that she had the turban head wrap, and all I could think of was Professor Quill.
Yes.
She whipped off her scarf and did a terrible belly dance. See how I seduce you with my hips. She veiled her face and blinked like an owl. See how I tempt you with my eyes. She shook her bosom and beat her bangles noisily. See how I become midnight's temptress? More like a smoked kebab, Agatha murmured. Kiko giggled. Professor Anemone's smile vanished, as did the accent. Here I thought I would teach you to survive 1001 Arabian Nights. Dune ready makeup, Hygierta fashions, even a proper dance of the seven veils, but perhaps I should start with something less amusing. She tightened her turban. Fairies have alerted me that candy has been vanishing from Hansel's Haven, even while it's under repair. As you know, our school's classrooms are made of candy as a reminder that temptations that you will face beyond our gates. Her eyes narrowed. But we know what happens to girls who eat candy. Once they start, they can't stop. They stray from the path. They fall prey to witches. They gorge themselves on self-pleasure until they die obese, unmarried, and riddled with warts. The girls were aghast. Someone could vandalize the tower, let alone ruin their figure with candy. Agatha tried to look just as scandalized. That's when the marshmallows fell out of her pocket, followed by a blue lollipop, a hunk of gingerbread, 2 bricks of fudge. 20 gasps came all at once. I didn't have time for breakfast, Agatha insisted. I didn't eat all night. No one was sympathetic, including Kiko, who looked sorry that she'd been nice to her at all. Agatha picked guiltily at her swan. You'll be cleaning plates for supper for the next 2 weeks, Agatha, said her professor. A useful reminder of one thing that princesses have that villains do not. Agatha bolted up. The answer, a proper diet, Professor Anemone huffed. As the turbaned teacher divulged more Arabian beauty secrets, Agatha slumped into the couch. One class and her problem had already multiplied. Between the horror of a mandatory ball, 2 weeks of dish duty, and decidedly wart-ridden future, she had the crashing realization that of how fast she needed to solve the schoolmaster's riddle. How about poison in her food? Hester spat. She doesn't eat, said Annabelle, trampling with her through the malice hall. How about poisoned lipstick? They'll lock us in the doom room for weeks, fretted Dot, lumbering to keep up. I don't care how we do it, or how much trouble we'll get in, Hester hissed. I want that snake gone. She threw open the door to room 66 and found Sophie sobbing on her bed. The snake is crying, Annabelle said. Are you okay, love? Dot asked, suddenly sorry for the girl she was supposed to kill. Blubbering Sophie poured out everything that had happened in the schoolmaster's tower. And now there's a riddle, and I don't know the answer, and Tedros thinks I'm a witch because I keep winning challenges, and no one understands the reason I keep winning is that I'm good at everything. Hester was ready to strangle her right there. Then her face changed. This riddle, if you answer it, you go home? Sophie nodded. And we never have to see you again, said Annabelle. Sophie nodded. We'll solve it, her roommates pounced. You will? Sophie blinked. You know how badly you want to go home, said Hester. And we want you to go home more, said Annabelle. Well, at least you believe me, Sophie frowned, wiping tears. Guilty until proven innocent, Hester said. It's the never way. I wouldn't tell any of this to an ever, though. They'll think you're mad as a hatter, said Annabelle. That's what I thought, but who lies about breaking so many rules? Dot said, failing to turn her swan crest to chocolate. Well, this bird is really incorrigible. What is the schoolmaster like? Hester asked Sophie. He's old. Very old. And you actually saw the story in? Annabelle asked. The strange pen? It wrote about us the whole time. It what? The three girls said at once. But you're in school, Hester said. What can happen in school that's worthy of a fairy tale? Said Annabelle. I'm sure it's just a mistake like everything else, Sophie sniffed. I just need to solve this riddle, tell the schoolmaster, and poof! I'm out of this cursed place. Simple. The girls exchanged looks. Isn't it? There's 2 puzzles here, Annabelle said, eyeing Hester. The schoolmaster's riddle, Hester turned to Sophie, and why he wants you to solve it. If there was one word Agatha dreaded more than ball, it was dancing. Every good girl must dance at the ball, Pollux said, wobbling on mule legs in the Valor Commons. Agatha tried not to breathe. The room reeked of leather and cologne, with its musky brown couches, bare head carpet, hide-bound books about hunting and riding, and a moose head plaque flaunting obscenely large antlers.
I can't think of that without thinking of the children that failed now. The bear rug and the moose.
Poor kids. Flaunting obscenely large antlers, she missed the school for evil and its graveyard stench. Pollux led the girls through the dances for the Evers Ball, none of which Agatha could follow since she kept falling and mumbling it would make more sense if he got his body back. After tripping a hoof on the rug, impaling himself on the antlers, and landing buttocks first on the fireplace, Pollux barked, they got the point, and wheeled the group of fairies wielding willow violins. Play a violetta. And so they did, lightning quick, and Agatha flung from partner to partner, waist to waist, spinning faster and faster into a wild blur. Her feet caught fire. Every girl in the room was Sophie. The shoes, they were back. Sophie, I'm coming, she yelled. Next thing she knew, she was on the floor. There are appropriate times for fainting, Pollock scowled. This is not one. I tripped, Agatha snapped. Suppose you faint during the ball. Chaos, carnage. I didn't faint.
Deception.
Forget a ball. It would be a midnight massacre. Agatha stared him down. I didn't faint. When the girls reported to the banks of the halfway bridge for animal communication, Professor Dovey was waiting. Princess Uma has taken ill. Girls gave Agatha sour looks, since her wish-fish debacle was surely responsible. With no one to supervise on such short notice, Professor Dovey gave them all the session off. Top half students may use the groom room. Bottom half students may use the time to reflect upon their mediocrity. While Beatrix and her 7 minions sashayed to the groom room for manicures, the bottom half of girls scurried to peek in on sword play, since the boys sparred shirtless. Meanwhile, Agatha hastened to the Gallery of Good, hoping it would inspire an answer to the riddle. As her eyes drifted across the sculptures, cases, and stuffed creatures lit with pink flame torches, she remembered the schoolmaster's decree that a witch and a princess could never be friends. But why? Something has to come between them. Surely there was this was the mysterious thing that a princess could have and a villain could not. She thought about what it could be until her neck prickled red, but still no answer. She found herself pulled once more into the corner nook home to the gauzy paintings of Galveston's readers. Agatha remembered Professor Dovey speaking to the tight-jawed woman, Professor Seder, which they called the artist. The same Seder who taught the history of heroism? Isn't that class next? This time, Agatha moved from painting slowly. As she did, she noticed the landscape evolved from frame to frame. More stories sprang up in a square. The church changed colors from white to red. 2 windmills rose behind the lake until the village began to look like the one she had left. Even more confused now, she drifted along the paintings until one made her stop. As children read storybooks on the church steps, the sun spotlit a girl in purple peacock and yellow hat with sunflowers. Agatha put her nose to the girl. Alice? It had to be. The baker's daughter had worn the same ridiculous coat and hat every day of her life until she was kidnapped 8 years before. Across the painting, an errant ray of sun spotlit a gaunt boy in black beating a cat with a stick. Rune. Agatha remembered him trying to gouge out Reaper's eye before her mother thrashed him away with a broomstick. Rune, too, had been taken that year. Quickly, she shifted to the next painting. The scores of children lined up in front of Dr. DeVille's, but the sun illuminated only 2. Bald Bane biting a girl in front of him, and a quiet, handsome Garrick, the 2 boys taken 4 years before. Sweating, Agatha slowly turned to the next painting. As children read high on the Emerald Hill, 2 sat below, sunlit on the bank. A girl in black flicking matches into the water. A girl in pink packing pouches with cucumbers. Breathless, Agatha dashed back through the row. In every one, light chose 2 children, one bright and fair, the other strange and grim. Agatha retreated from the nook and climbed on the stuffed cow's rump to see all the paintings at once. Paintings that told her 3 things about Professor Seder. He could move between the real and the fairy tale worlds. He knew why children were brought here from Galveston. He could help them get home. As fairies chimed the start of the next class, Agatha barged into the theater of tales and squeezed beside Kiko, while Tedros and the boys played handball against the phoenix carved into the front of the stone stage. Tristan didn't even say hi, Kiko griped. Maybe he thinks I have warts now that I talk to you. Where's Professor Seder? Agatha said. Professor Seder, said a voice. She looked up and saw a handsome silver-haired teacher give her a cryptic smile as he ascended the stage in his shamrock green suit. The man who smiled in the foyer on the bridge, Professor Crackpot. Agatha
That's his name?
Well, that's what she called him on the bridge.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Good connection.
Yes. Yes.
Careful.
Don't pass out.
Please don't.
I'm good. I just choked.
That's okay.
That's
Yeah,
okay,
fine.
just as long as you don't pass out. As you know, I teach 4th session here, and in evil, and unfortunately cannot be 2 places at once. Thus, I'll be alternating weeks between schools, he said, clasping the lectern. On weeks where I'm not here, you'll have a former student come to recount their adventure in the endless woods. They are responsible for your week's challenges, so please afford them the same respect that you give me. Finally, given I am responsible for a vast amount of students and a vast amount of history, I do not hold office hours, nor will I answer your questions inside or outside of class. Agatha coughed.
Good to know.
How would she get answers if she wasn't allowed questions? If you do have questions, said Satyr, hazel eyes unblinking, you surely find the answers in your test, a student's history of the woods, or in another authored book available in the Library of Virtue. Now roll call. Beatrix? Yes. One more time, Beatrix. Right here, Beatrix snapped. Thank you, Beatrix. Kiko? Present. Again, Kiko. I'm here, Professor Satyr. Excellent. Raina? Yes. Again. Agatha groaned. At this week, they'd be here until new moon. Tedros? Here. Louder, Tedros. Good grief, is he deaf? Agatha grouched. No, silly, said Kiko. He's blind. Agatha snored. Don't be ridiculous. The glassy eyes, the matching names to voices, the way he gripped the lectern. But his paintings, Agatha cried. He's seen Galvadon. He's seen us. That's when Professor Satyr met the eyes and smiled as if to remind her he'd never seen anything at all. So let me get this straight, said Sophie. There are 2 schoolmasters first, and they were brothers. Twins, said Hester. One good, one evil, said Annabelle. Sophie moved along the series of chipped marble murals built into Evil's Hall, covered with an emerald algae and blue rust, torch lit with green flames. The hall looked like a cathedral that had spent most of his life underwater. She stopped at one depicting 2 young men in a castle chamber, keeping watch over an enchanted pen she had seen in the schoolmaster's tower. One brother wore long black robes, the other white. In the cracked mosaic, she could make out their identical handsome features, ghostly pale hair and deep blue eyes. But where the white-robed brother's face was warm and gentle, the black-robed one was icy and hard. Still, something about both of their faces seemed familiar. And these brothers ruled both schools and protected the magic pen? Sophie asked. The Storian, Hester corrected. And good one half of the time and evil one half of the time? More or less, said Annabelle, feeling a snail in her feeding a snail to her pocketed rats. My mother says that good, when on a streak, evil would find new tricks, forcing good to improve their defense and beat them back. Nature's balance, said Dot, munching on a school book she had turned to chocolate. It's Sable. Sophie moved. You can. Yeah.
Keep going.
No falling asleep.
I'm not falling asleep.
It's just not comfortable.
I'm trying to angle myself this way because the fan only blows that way, so I can't feel the fan behind here.
So she's hot.
So I was trying to lean over and join the window this way so I can also get some fan.
Gotcha. Sophie moved to the next mural, where the evil brother had gone from ruling peacefully alongside his brother to attacking him with a barrage of spells. But
I don't want to be attacked by smells.
No.
But the evil one thought he could control the pen, Storian, and make the evil invincible, so he gathers an army to destroy his brother and starts a war. The Great War, said Hester, where everyone took a side between good brother and evil brother. And in this final battle between them, someone won, said Sophie, eyeing the last mural. A sea of evers and nevers bowed before a masked schoolmaster in silver robes, the glowing Storian floating above his hands. But no one knows who? Quick study, Annabelle grinned. But surely people must know he's the good brother or the evil brother, Sophie said. Everyone pretends it's a mystery, but since the Great War, evil hasn't won a single story. But doesn't the pen just write what happens in the woods? Sophie said, studying the strange symbols on the story in steel. But don't we control the stories? And it just happens one day all villains die, Hester growled. That pen is forcing our fate. That pen is killing all the villains. That pen is controlled by good. Story and love, Dot chomped. Not a pen. Hester smacked the book out of her mouth. But if we're going to die every time, why bother teaching villains? Said Sophie. Why have the School of Evil at all? Try asking a teacher that question, piped Dot, digging into her bag for a bigger book. Fine, so you villains can't win anymore, Sophie yawned, filling her nails with a marble shard. What's this got to do with me? The historian started your tale, Hester frowned. So? And given your current school, the historian thinks you're the villain in the fairy tale. And I should care about the opinion of a pen, Sophie said, whittling her nails on her hand.
Like how you should care about the opinion of a hat from Hogwarts.
Yeah.
You know?
I take that back, the quick study bit, said Annabelle. If you're the villain, then you die, you imbecile, Hester barked. Sophie broke a nail. But the schoolmaster said I can go back home. Or maybe this riddle is crap. He's good. You said it yourself. And you're evil, said Hester. He's not on your side. Sophie looked at her. Annabelle and Dot gave her the same grim expression. I'm gonna die here, Sophie squeaked, eyes welling. There has to be something I can do. Solve the riddle, Hester said, shrugging. It's the only way you'll know what he's up to. Plus, your ending needs to happen soon. If you win one more challenge, I'll kill you myself. Then tell me the answer, Sophie yelled. What does a villain never have that a princess can't do without? Hester mulled, itching her tattoo. Animals, maybe, said Dot. Villains can have animal henchmen. Just takes deeper corruption, said Annabelle. What about honor? Evil has its own version of honor, and everything else good thinks they're invented, Hester said. We have better names for them. I have it. They turned to Sophie. A birthday party, she said. Who wants to go to a villain party?
Huh? Lord have mercy.
The same thing.
Annabelle and Hester stare at her.
Stare at her.
It's because she doesn't eat, said Dot. Brains need food. Then you must be the smartest girl alive, Sophie roared. Dot glared back at her. Remember, the cruelest villains die the cruelest deaths. Sophie turned to Hester nervously. Well, Lady Lesto, tell me the answer. If she thinks it'll help evil win, you'd have to be clever, said Annabelle. Or subtle, said Hester. Cleverness, subtly, that's what I do, darling, Sophie said, relieved. The riddle is good as salt. Or not, given we're 15 minutes late, said Dot. Indeed, the only thing chillier than Lady Lesto's frozen classroom was the look she gave the four girls when they slipped through the door to their seats. I would need you for punishment, but they're occupied with students from my last class. Boys' screams echoed from beneath their feet. The whole class trembled at the thought of what was happening in the Doom Room. Let's see if our latecomers can redeem themselves, said Lady Lesto, heels cracking ominously. What are we doing? Sophie whispered to Hort. She's testing us on famous nemesises, Hort whispered. If you get a question right, you get one of these. He flaunted a massive stick-on wart glued to his cheek. Sophie recoiled. That's a reward? What?
No, I don't know what that is.
Hester, can you name a villain who destroyed her nemesis with a nightmare curse? Finola, the fairy eater. Finola the witch haunted her fairies' dreams and convinced them to cut off their own wings. With the fairies no longer able to fly, Finola caught and ate them one by one. Sophie swallowed whatever came.
Oh my God. That's terrifying.
It is.
Yep.
This is a middle school book?
Yeah, actually, my 5th grader read it.
All right.
My 5th graders.
I don't remember reading books that dark.
Me either.
Actually, no.
No, Harry
The
Potter.
Goodbye was pretty dark, too.
Harry Potter's was pretty dark, too.
Yeah. Harry Potter came out when we were in 5th grade.
Yeah. That's right.
Sophie's.
Yeah.
Wow.
You feel old now?
Well, I just was a roll. So 5th grade for you guys was 4th grade for
For
me.
you, yeah.
So I remember in 5th grade when my school got the entire series, and then I remember I had to wait like a month to check it out because this one chick, Catherine, had them before me, and I literally was like checking every day if she returned them.
Dude.
Sophie swallowed whatever came up, but she had never heard of Finola the Fairy Eater, so Hester had clearly gotten it wrong. Correct! Finola the Fairy Eater, one of the most famous stories of all, Lady Lesso said, and stuck a giant wart on Hester's hand. Famous? Sophie wrinkled her nose. Famous where? Annadale, name a villain who killed her nemesis using a disguise, Lady Lesso said. Rabid Bear Rex dressed herself in a bearskin because Princess Anatole loved bears. When she tried to pet him, she cut her throat. A great role model for us all, Rabid Bear Rex, said Lady Lesso, and patted a wart on Annadale's neck. If she was alive, he'd wipe that grin off of everyone in the if he was alive, he'd wipe that grin off of every one of Clarissa's gloating cockerels. Sophie bit her lip. Were they making this up? Dot. Name a villain who murdered her nemesis with transfiguration. The Frost Queen. Turned the princess into ice and put her into the morning sun. My favorite of all, Lady Lesso thundered. A story that will live on forever in the hearts of... Sophie snorted. Is something funny? Said Lady Lesso. I've never heard of any of these, Sophie said. Hester and Annadale sank in their seats. Never heard of them, Lady Lesso sneered. These are evil's greatest triumphs, the glory that inspires future villains. 4 girls in a well, 12 drowned princesses, Ursula the usurper, the witch of... Never heard of any of those either, Sophie sighed, combing back her hair. Where I come from, no one would read a story where evil wins. Everybody wants good to win because good has better looks, nicer hair, and more friends. Lady Lesso was speechless. Sophie turned to her classmates. I'm sorry that no one likes you and you will never win, and that you will have to go to school for no reason, but that's the truth. Hester pulled her clothes over her face. Dot leaned forward and whispered into Sophie's ear. The riddle of... Oh, yes, said Sophie, all business. Well, I have the floor. There's a bit of a brain teaser. It's quite important that I solve it, so if any of you guys have help, maybe it would be deeply appreciated. What does a villain never have that a princess can't do without? Any ideas? Feel free to shout them out. Merci, darlings. I have no idea, said Lady Lesso. I knew you would, Sophie smiled. What is it? Or, I have an idea, said Lady Lesso. I knew you would, Sophie smiled. What is it? What do I have that you don't? Lady Lesso thrust her face into yours. Nothing. Which is what you'll be hearing for the rest of class. What we will be hearing from you for the rest of class. Sophie had an appeal that never made it out of her mouth. Her lips were sealed shut. Much better, Lady Lesso said, and blessed Sophie with a wart between her eyes. As Sophie pried it at her lips, Lady Lesso stood calmly and smoothed out her purple gown, ignoring the petrified students around her. Now, Hort, tell me a villain who employed a raven death trap. Wheezing through her nose, Sophie wrenched her mouth with a pen, hair clip, and icicle, which pierced her lips. Gasp, wail, scream. She tried it all, but all she found was silence, panic, and blood. And Hester glowered from the front row. Good as solved, eh?
Wow, that
Dang.
is bloody and dark and gross.
Yep. Just ugh. Well,
I've read some cool stories with goblins and fairies and pixies and stuff. Like The Divide is honestly like one of my favorite kids' books to reread from 5th grade. But They weren't that. I mean, they did try to kill people, but like, dang, this is dark.
Well, I mean, it doesn't go into gory detail. It's just like
she's stabbing her lips with an icicle and like things. How is?
I feel like they just make it so nonchalant. Like she's just stabbing herself with an icicle and like couldn't get anything out.
God. And she's like bleeding in pain and like.
It doesn't even say she's in pain. It's just saying she's stabbing herself trying to get her lips open. I think that's all like added bonus in your head because you're like, oh man, if I was stabbing my lips with an icicle, that would be painful.
It was painful just getting sunburned on my lips last weekend.
I'm still sunburnt. It hurts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, let us know what you guys think down below. If you like the details that are in this book compared to other books that you've read in the past, or if you kind of guess our ages compared to how when you were younger and versus now and your thoughts now. We're not going to tell your age, but you could guess. And let us know. We can converse.
I graduated high school in 2012, and I'm the youngest here.
I'm the oldest. Yeah, I'm the oldest.
We're the same class, though.
Yeah.
I'm the middle child.
They're just calling me 11.
All right, guys. Well, until then, I'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.